Hi there, KT with another drop for the lantern here at A Growing Knowing. So thank you very much for stopping by. Appreciate it very much. I am hunkering down. We got a little bit of activity outside, and I was inspired. I want to another drop for the lantern. Lantern is comprised really about messaging that says, let's figure out what our next couple of steps are, and we'll take them. And that's what we're going to focus on, because we're not going to focus on all that stuff out there and get worried about all that and then start firing off all kind of stuff that has some power and some magic behind it. We're going to let the universe do what the universe do. We're going to focus on our next steps. And the way we figure out what our next steps are is 5 steps in a daily mindfulness practice, where really the recommendation is do most of these things most days. You know, it's a tall ask. But to get a practice going, you gotta have some consistency around it. You gotta practice it. And so the first is gratitude. Wake up with gratitude before you get out of bed in the morning. Just, oh, what's going right? There's stuff that's going right. Let's think about that. Let's focus on the things that are working in our experience and in our lives, rather than getting up with fret and worry about what's not going to go right today, or what could happen today, or what we need to be worrying about today, kind of stuff. Let's get some gratitude going early. Meditation, that's, good magic there, really good magic there. Let's see, we've got a grounding meditation, we've got a body scan meditation, we've got a gratitude meditation, all posted for kind of supplement to help with this. Calm app, highly recommend that. Get some meditation going with some consistency, because that's really, I think, where the magic is. Then we journal. We gain some insight through our journaling. And so we spend some time each day writing down a little bit, listening to what comes up, writing down kind of what worries us, things that are kicking around, where we kind of want to start to open up, that can, go into that cave, I guess. I'll stick with my cave analogy. When we're ready for it, start writing about it, and it'll start coming. But most of the stuff will come to you when it is time. I tell you, it really does. Just be open. Like, I am open today to the magic. I am open to the healing and to the learning and the lessons that will present themselves to me. I'd ask that you make it easy, make it obvious. And things will present, and you'll discover more through journaling. Move around outside, go celebrate your body, stretch it, move it around. I got to figure out how I'm getting my physical fitness done with all this weather activity I've got up here. It's a bit more than I expected. It's beautiful. I love it. But we got some snow. And then self-care. Do things to take care of yourself as you're moving through these significant changes. These realizations that you're having, these shifts in perception. Perspective is shifting as well. You're really going to need to give yourself some grace for there's going to be old ways, new ways. There's going to be things that require you to be kind to yourself. And there's some things that I shared on previous drops that have helped me. How I've organized kind of the time periods in my life by telling my story as I would tell it. I wrote down my story as I would tell it. And then I got it organized kind of into episodes, chapters, cul-de-sacs. And then we figured out who that version was that endured that stuff, got a visual of them, put some superhero costumes on each one of them kids, because they deserve it and they need to know it. And now we're getting ready to kind of get together with them littles and start going into the caves, right? So a lot of grace. Now, it'll be interesting to see what comes up in the mind as we're embarking, right? So pay a lot of attention about the fear. There's much ado about, oftentimes. I won't say about nothing, because there's a lot there. But sometimes there's a bit more ado than is warranted. Fear is a mile wide and an inch deep. And I truly believe that. And as I have embarked into places and areas this past year in my camper van and doing stuff by myself that I never thought I would do, I really did learn that if you can just push through, push forward and lean in and show momentum in that direction, you will get the support you need. You'll be able to do it. Yeah, you'll be able to do it. And you'll find that fear is indeed, you step into it, you're like, well, that's not too bad. I can manage that. So, the mind. as we embark. So start paying attention. I think where I would point us to at this point in our journey, I'm going to start dropping reference stuff, right? So I'd like you to kind of be able to formulate your frame of reference on how things work, how all of this is constructed, all that stuff. And there are people who have done amazing work telling it way, way better than I ever could. So let's start with The Power of Now by Eckhardt Tolle. The Power of Now. I think The Power of Now has it had incredible impact on me. Things kind of started to synthesize as I listened to that. I'm an audio, so I do an audible book, and usually when I'm gardening or cleaning. And it was impactful for me. It helped me to really start to get down with, I can be an observer of what goes on in my mind. I don't have to act on everything my mind says. I don't have to do it. I don't have to believe. My mind tells me what's going on. My body certainly tells me what's going on, but my mind will tell me where. If I can kind of follow, and you'll get a sense of it. And again, the way that he articulates, the message that he conveys, in addition to, it's powerful stuff. And so I think The Power of Now, Eckhardt Tolle, is absolutely where I think we start. And understanding the mind, because I think the mind is incredibly well designed and amazing at what it does. Problem solving, solutioning, right? It's really good at predictive analytics as far as looking at historical. It's not very accurate at future looking, but predictive analytics, it loves to do that kind of stuff, right? So it can be a good reference if you need to, look back historically to solve a problem. It's really good at solving a problem in the now. A lot of creativity and complex problem solving come out of putting some leaning into the mind and its abilities. But I don't believe that it was meant to be like the captain. It wasn't supposed to be in charge of everything. And somehow we have allowed that, right? Like we're complicit. And mind influenced by ego, there's a little bit of a combination there that's tricky. Because, if the research that you can do around ego and really the intentions of ego and understanding who you are through the lens of your ego and, the self-imagined ego, it's those two in charge are likely, it's like fear, what if, worst case scenario, a lot of discouragement of vulnerability, a lot of dampening down of curiosity and creativity. Like over time, I noticed that my life was getting smaller and smaller because I was afraid to do things. I was afraid to do things, like simple things that in my younger days would have been very easy. The thought of me going camping for a weekend, in an unknown place, had me to the point where I was almost hoping that it would get canceled. I love to camp. What is this? The impact of the mind. And I think with the primary motive of wanting to keep us safe, legit, valid, appreciated, necessary. But it's a little amok. Let's not get carried away. Scope creep, for sure. And so considering the mind and the ego in cahoots together, making all the decisions up there, and look where you're at. I mean, you may be in a really good spot. Chances are, if you're here, shit's going down, and you're starting to realize that you are no longer willing to tolerate what is happening in your life. You have reached some point where there's a straw and there's a camel's back, and you do the math, right? You're here for a reason. And so understanding that maybe a large part of that is here, and the source material of our past being used, weaponized to keep us small. It's kind of a bummer to think that the mind, like friend or foe, can be friend, but certainly ungoverned foe. Undermining. So start paying attention. I highly recommend, like I said, The Power of Now. Let's lean into that and embark on that adventure. I'm going to start doing some Instagram stuff. I'm going to have some top 5 references. I'm going to start to put kind of some top 5 lists together to start giving access to like what formed my basis of understanding. Like I can get down. I've organized it in a way where I can get down. Okay. I have kind of here's how I think it works. And, you know, everybody can formulate their own opinion. I'll share with you what helped me with mine. It may spurn you into customers also liked. Like it may not resonate and you scroll down and you're like, well, wait, that does. Yeehaw. You know, let's get your best practices formulated for you, right? Like you can lean into mine and maybe mine can give you a little bit of a jump and then you start, you know, riding in your own groove, and that's great. And that's great. And then at some point we can build a forum and start to figure out how to leverage best practices that are happening kind of across the collective. Because I seek to be an accelerant, and I certainly don't expect that there's going to be a journey that mimics mine. But let's keep you going. You know, we'll keep these things going and keep you cooking along until you kind of develop your own thing. But what I can tell you is lean into the daily practice. These 5 things most days. Meditation, journaling, absolutely. Gratitude will get you out of anxiety. Gratitude will get you in a place where you can relax a little bit and feel like that fight or flight stuff. We can kind of take a moment for ourselves. That's really what meditation can do, is just enable you to find a way to regulate your nervous system and give yourself kind of a timeout. You know, I may have mentioned in another video, I saw where this woman had put her camera in the grass and she comes out of her house and then just lays face down in the grass and then proceeds to roll over. And the caption said, reminding my nervous system that I'm just getting my kids ready for school and not being actually chased by a lion. And that's how we operate a lot. And meditation can give us that. Okay. Most things, most days. And if you got to pick, I'd say gratitude, meditation, journal. Those would be the 3 that I would prioritize. And let's start paying attention to the mind. What are those thoughts that are coming through? What's the message? What's the source material? Start questioning some of that stuff and catching it and going, I wonder what's going on there. Journal about it. And that's where you can start to get your hand on that root and start pulling that root up, okay? It ain't easy. It's worth it. It doesn't get easier. You get stronger. And that's what it is. You just get stronger. You are more capable of dealing with the twists and turns, because that's what life is really about, is the twists and turns. And once you start to come into awareness that all of that was intended to mold you to who you are right now and what you are getting ready to do, what you are embarking on. Preach truth. It's worth it. It's worth it. Keep going. Keep going. It's not easy, but it's worth it. So, lantern. Start paying attention. Let's write these things down. We can get a two for done. We can start probing around on what's going on in there and see what's going on in those caves. We could start writing it down and get credit for our journaling. Okay. Start paying attention to what's going on up there and start pushing back a little bit, saying, I don't know. And then identify when you're in fear and lean in and see what that space feels like. Start to get familiar with fear. Like my mouth gets dry, heart palpitations. I recognize it and I'm like, all right, fear. Okay, here we go. We know we operate well in fear. I know I can do all kinds of things, even when I'm afraid. And start working with that and seeing what kind of, what starts firing up. Start paying attention to the messaging, the propaganda up there, okay? All right, so with that, lantern, next few steps. I am, up here, going through it. Challenging loneliness, challenging spending the holidays by myself, stepping through all of that. That's what's next for me. I invite you to consider what is next for you, what is right in front of you. Do that which requires doing and keep going. Keep going. You got this. You really do. You're getting stronger. Nothing presented you can't do. So keep on keeping on. All right. All right. Take care. Thanks for stopping by. Really appreciate it.